And hey guys, welcome back to the channel, back with the Wandering Mariner. So tonight we're talking about the continued differences and similarities with MSC and SIU. So if you join Military Sealift Command, you could end up on a variety of deep sea vessels. That's everything from oilers or refueling ships to cargo ships that do refueling, food, ammunition, or ships that specialize in ammunition, and they also do fuel and food. Or you could end up on special mission ships, which work with special warfare, or maybe Navy divers, or maybe even like dive and salvage boats, or you could even end up like on a hospital ship. So there's a wide variety of what you could possibly do with MSC, but the variety broadens drastically when you talk about Seafarers International Union. Because working for SIU, you could end up deep sea, you could end up on the Great Lakes, you could end up working on a river, you could end up working on tugs or tugs and interlocking barges, bulk carriers, which carry like everything from rock to coal to iron ore, and container ships that, you know, have all those containers stacked up and whatnot. Car carriers, ferry boats, survey ships, scientific ships, pre-positioning vessels. And that's kind of interesting too, because Military Sealift Command has a couple squadrons of pre-positioned ships that are kind of at the ready, and they're positioned around the world, and you as an SIU member could end up getting assigned to one of those ships that works under federal contracts for the government, and they kind of fall under Military Sealift Command's umbrella, but you could be a mariner assigned to those boats too. And I've even heard about like casino boats. I don't know anything about it. I don't even know if they still have casino boats, but I think that was a thing at one time or another. But so continuing on, I talked a little bit about the different types of ships that you could end up on. And for me, myself, I always like Military Sealift Command over SIU, just because when you go with SIU, you don't always know exactly like what you're going to be doing when you get there. So you're always going to be learning new stuff, but it's easier sometimes when you have familiarity with a ship or a certain job going on different ships. So continuing on, ship assignments. So if you join Military Sealift Command, you are a federal employee. You are SIVMAR. As a federal employee, you get assigned a ship. You are going to be told, this is where you're going. Now, the detailer might humor you. The detailer might say, oh, where do you want to go? You want to go East Coast or West Coast, or you want to go here or there? Because they might have a little bit of option. But most of the time, it's just going to be, I need you to go here. This ship's available. And this is where you're being assigned. And the reason why is the way MSC's pool or assignments are supposed to work is supposed to be first in, first out. So if you are the first one to call your detailer, say, I'm ready to go back to work, you're the first one on their list, you're going to be the first one that gets assigned to a ship. So that way it kind of takes out the whole hookup game or playing favorites or any kind of issues like that. So that's the way it's supposed to work. Now MSC, and typically that is the way it works with Military Sealift Command, especially when you're young and junior. Now, as you get more higher ranks, like chief engineers and chief mates and captains, they like to have their go-to guys that they worked with in the past kind of come back to their boat. So if they find out Tom is in the pool and Tom's a first assistant engineer, and that chief engineer is like, oh, Tom's available, I want him, he might contact that detailer and say, hey, can you send Tom to our boat? And the detailers will work a lot of times with the chief engineers or captains to kind of get them their team members that they want. But when you're starting out, it's kind of, you know, you get what you get, and first in, first out. That's typically how it works. Now, with SIU, it's all based on your seniority. At least it's supposed to be. So as an A book, having over 8 years of experience, which I talked about in the previous video, as an A book, you get first choice of ship assignments. So when things are posted, you get first pick. Then it goes to the B books, then it goes to the C books. And that was kind of the point I was trying to make with you guys with the previous video. So you understand, like, they talk about the ability to pick your ship. And that is true with SIU. You get to say, yes, I'll take that contract, or no, I don't want that contract. But it's also based on seniority. So if you're a very junior person, and let's say you didn't go through Piney Point's training and you're a C book, you might sit in the hall waiting for a job. And let's say you were there 2 weeks, but somebody else just comes in off the street and says, I'm back, and they turn in their book and they're an A book or a B book. They get first choice of orders over you, even if you've been there weeks or months. And that's just something to keep in mind, because some of the union halls get really crowded and everybody's like waiting for the job that they want. And it's hard to get the good jobs that you want, that you might want to sail as sometimes. So it's just weighing out these two and just the way they work differently. Another thing I wanted to talk about is with SIU, the port captains have a lot of flexibility for assignments that hit their office. So if you are in the union hall of this, let's say Joliet, Illinois, and there's certain local companies that sail in your area, maybe on the Great Lakes or whatever, and jobs come in, as the port captain there, you have some flexibility to assign different mariners to different jobs. So there ends up being a little bit of hokey pokey. Sometimes companies will want their same guys back. Like they've signed on guys that are permanently assigned to certain ships as like homesteaders within the union. Now, with Military Sealift Command, there's not really a set thing for homesteaders. But for SIU, if a company says, John's been a really good employee, I'd really like John to be reassigned back to us, the union's going to work with that company to get those mariners to go back. So they might only post a job for like a couple weeks or a month while John's on vacation. They'll post a job in the union hall and say, just send anybody. I just need a body to cover John's absence while he's home on leave or on vacation. But John told me he's coming back in a month. Now, when you do that, though, and you work out those deals with those companies, you are more or less kind of a slave to those companies, even though you're in the union. Yes, you don't have to go back, but if they're like, we really need you to come back, and you turn it down, they're going to pick somebody else, and then you might not be able to get back on that boat. And that was one thing I realized in the union hall, or on ship, was there were guys that were pretty much permanently assigned to the ship, and they would say, hey, I need 2 weeks off. And the company would be like, all right, take 2 weeks. But then something would come up and they'd call him and say, hey, you need to come back. And he'd be back, but he'd be pissed. So you have choice, but when you got to work, if you're a junior mariner and you're in SIU and you're a sea book, you're going to take what ships they have because you're just trying to get your sea time. You're trying to upgrade your book and get a little bit of seniority so you have a little bit of choice. Because even the new hires, the guys that went through Piney Point, they have seniority over you if they're carrying the same credentials as you. And that's, I've seen videos of people online or posts in message boards where people are like, screw SIU, I'm tired of the politics of it all, because there is a little bit of that in there. There is companies that want specific people. And also, just because you have it in your book and it's, you have these qualifications in your book, doesn't mean it's like having your CDL if you were a truck driver. If you ever see all these jobs offering for truck drivers, they'll be like, hey, it pays this much, but you must have 2 years of experience of driving over the road, blah, 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 blah. Just because you have the qualifications doesn't mean you're the best qualified for that position. And companies are always trying to match people with those best qualifications. So sometimes people get frustrated because they're like, I have the license. You should allow me to go out as this position. But companies don't necessarily want an electrician that just got qualified. They want a guy that has lots of experience and been doing it a long time. So, and that's kind of when you talk about that A book, B book, C book with SIU, it is kind of a gatekeeper for new hires to not run up the ladder too quick. So that's one thing that you have to weigh out if you're thinking about these two companies. So let's next talk about the duration. So if you get assigned a ship with Military Sealift Command, you are going to be out for a minimum of 120 days. That's from the time you get assigned to the day you sign off the boat. And you don't have a say about it. You're pretty much going where they need you to go for 120 days. The good thing is, if you don't like it, you can put in the boat to get off. If you do like it, you can typically stay around unless the ship's going into a maintenance phase or something along those lines. So it is, I feel like that's a good time period because it takes you a while. You get into a new boat, it takes you a little while to get into the groove of how things work and how the ship's culture is, to kind of figure out whether it's really a good fit for you anyways. But some people, they want to be on union boats, or they want to be on, service boats, maybe going out to the oil rigs and whatnot. They just want to work 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, because there's private companies that you can go do stuff like that as well. You don't have to sign on with Military Sealift Command, but the benefits and features of these two, and I'll talk more about that in a future video. But so MSC is 120 days. For Seafarers International Union, it is a contract. So when you see the job up there, it says how many days the job is, and you say, I would like to go to that ship. And once they say, yes, it's available for you, you look over the contract, and you're going to see everything that's required of the job and all the duties and responsibilities that you're going to have to do when you get there. And I find this really interesting because, and this kind of goes down to the pay as well. And that's where I want to go next. But the contract for SIU could be anywhere from a couple weeks to a month to 4 months to 6 months. It all depends. And some people, like if you got on one of those pre-positioned ships and you got to be out there in, let's say, Diego Garcia or Guam or someplace that you're just like, this place is not for me, and maybe there's no overtime there, you have to do your time there just like you would have to do with MSC. So they can be very similar in some ways as far as that. But that gets to the time off. So Military Sealift Command, you're going to earn 30 days of vacation time a year. SIU, you're going to get vacation pay, possibly. If it's in your contract, you're going to earn money for while you're working and when you get paid off, you go to Union Hall and they cut you a check for your vacation pay. But for Military Sealift Command, you're getting paid every 2 weeks and you can count on it. And Military Sealift Command is going to be your base salary plus overtime. So your base salary is the same all the time, plus overtime, plus any kind of special pays for special duties you do around the ship. So that's how your pay pans out for Military Sealift Command. But even while you're home on vacation, you're getting your base salary. All right, so you're getting that for 40 hours a week, no matter what, which is nice. And another thing you can do with Military Sealift Command is you can comp your time. So if you take overtime, you could say, I want that as vacation time. And when you're starting out, I don't think that's a bad idea to comp some additional time to make sure you get a good enough or a long enough vacation before you do come back to work if you haven't earned enough vacation days yet. Comping your time off is a good idea. But continuing on with SIU's pay. So SIU, you get your contract, and the contract specifies how much your day rate is, and then that's kind of the set. Then how much your overtime rate is. Do you get vacation pay? Is there safety pay involved? And those are different things that you can get with SIU that you don't get with MSC. So, but the big rub for me always was, are you good at managing your money? If you are not good at managing your money, then Military Sealift Command is probably the place for you, because they're going to make sure you get paid every 2 weeks. And when you spend your money, you still got a place to sleep. You still got a place to live on the ship. And you know you're going to get a paycheck again. With SIU, you sign off that boat and you get your money and you go on vacation and you blow all your cash and you need to work. It might be a while before you get assigned a ship again. It could be, especially if you're entry level coming in, it could be a little bit till you get a boat you want to go to. And the time you're waiting in the union hall, you're spending your money on hotels and food and everything else. There is no contract hotel that they're putting you up in like they do for Military Sealift Command. So when you're in school or whatever else, in between ships, once you go back to work, Military Sealift Command's footing the bill to house you. SIU is not. And that's a big deal. That's like when you start adding it up. And, you know, for Military Sealift Command, when it comes to like healthcare, they both have healthcare plans that you can purchase. Pensions, you pay in to SIU's retirement pension program, and the companies you work for are matching a certain amount of that money that goes into it, but it's all based on how much time you've sailed to actually get the actual pension. And I'm not going to go all into the details there. And same thing with federal service for Military Sealift Command. You have to do so much time before you can actually collect your pension, but you're not paying in like that. It's a different setup. It's under the federal retirement system. So you can check that out online. And I think I did a previous video about it actually anyways, but I just kind of wanted to talk about those topics as far as SIU and MSC. And I think that they both have a lot to offer. You know, neither one of these companies are bad. You just got to find what's best for you. And for Military Sealift Command, I kind of feel like it's a lot softer, I'm going to say. The mission is the same. You know, when you get on a ship, the mission for that ship, they could do a variety of missions. Like you could be doing flight operations, you could be ammunition operations, you could be doing food, you could do storage, you could be palletizing cargo. There's so many different things you could do with MSC. But SIU, you could end up on such a wide variety of platforms that, you know, every day could be a box of chocolates, it seems like. And it all depends on what you like in your lifestyle. Are you one that can go take time off, save your money accordingly? So when you get time off, you know you're going to pay for your hotel. You know you're going to pay for all these things. You know you're going to pay for your own travel, where MSC does a lot of that for you. It really, it's easier. MSC is a lot softer and a lot easier than SIU. SIU, you're going to work because those companies are under contract. You're a federal employee with Military Sealift Command. SIU, you have a contract and you go to that contract to do that work. And it was constant load the cargo, travel, discharge the cargo, clean the ship, do the maintenance, do the security watches, load the cargo, travel. It was just this cycle of clean, load, discharge, clean, load, discharge, clean, load, discharge. And you're just in this cycle of making money for these corporations that are moving cargo around the world. And your job is to move it as fast as possible. And there's not a lot of coffee breaks and gab time and a lot of chit chat when it comes to union. To me, it was, you're here to work and we're going to work. MSC seemed like it was a lot more social and a lot more downtime in between events, because you're waiting for the Navy to need you a lot of the time. Unlike SIU, you don't need anybody. Your job is to pull into this port, load cargo. We would pull in at 1 o'clock in the morning, or pull in at midnight. And as we're tying up the boat on this side, there's somebody already opening all the cargo booms already and bringing them down and putting them into the hatches. And like, we're loading cargo before the ship's even fully secured to the pier. That's how much fast we were always working. Like, if we would have a delay, the company would be calling the captain on the boat and saying, what's going on? You guys were supposed to leave 5 minutes ago. Why are you late? Because the next port, they would have all the cargo and everything either ready to be loaded or discharged. And they had to have employees there, whether we arrived at 2, 3 in the morning or whether it was 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Didn't matter. There was no sense of like, oh, we only work between 8 in the morning and 5 p.m. Not with the commercial world. It is when you get there is when you get there. And it was always go, go, go. So just wanted to share that information with you guys. I hope you guys have a great night. I think that kind of wraps up what I wanted to kind of talk about, the difference between these two companies. If you have more questions, you can leave them below. I have a lot of different ideas of content that I want to get out to you guys. And a lot of you guys have been sharing a lot of good stuff with me. However, the focus of my channel is not actually the maritime industry. I just kind of wanted to share all this stuff with you guys as I'm kind of moving on to my next chapter in my life. Because I think this is important stuff that people can take in and use it to build their own future plans. And there's not always really good guidance out there, because there's lots of people on the internet that'll tell you, oh, you're going to travel, you're going to have all these adventures and whatnot. And a lot of times, yeah, you're traveling, but the adventure is not really going to start till you get home again, because you're going to be working your butt off. So just my thoughts. Hopefully you get some value out of this, guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, and we'll hit you on the next one. Have a good night. Peace.